Um, so let's start. Esteemed colleagues, welcome to today's panel session about transforming educational management systems through tech. We are gathered here today to delve into the potential of technology in reshaping the landscape of education management systems, EMIS. In today's fast evolving world, data has emerged as a driving force, shaping educational strategies at all levels, from teachers and principals to policymakers. Educational data plays a pivotal role in addressing critical challenges such as dropout rates and literacy levels. In this context, it is instrumental in achieving Sustainable Development Goal 4, emphasizing the need for global collaboration in improving education. Effective monitoring, reliable data collection, and evidence-based decision-making are the cornerstones of educational development, especially after COVID-19 pandemic. However, as we embrace technology and data, we must also address ethical concerns around the data usage and prioritize privacy and security. Accessibility too cannot be relegated to an afterthought. So there are different perspectives that we need to take into account when we're dealing to embracing technology and data-driven decision-making in education. It's imperative that we develop EMIS with an accessibility lens, ensuring inclusivity for all. The agenda for today is that we are going to have first a presentation by Mr. OSIDEKO ABIODUN, followed by Mr. Sebulon David, and after that, we'll have some time for the audience engagement and question and answers. But first, let's start with Mr. ABIODUN. Let me just accept the guest that was waiting in the waiting room. But now let's start with Mr. OSIDEKO ABIODUN. Currently, he is the Director and Head of Unit of Education Management Information Systems of Agency for Mass Education, Adults, and Non-Formal Education in Lagos State Ministry of Tertiary Education. He graduated in horticulture with a master in educational management and administration. Thank you so much, Mr. ABIODUN, for being here with us. And we are really looking forward to hear what are your experiences and your input in EMIS at the Lagos State. Thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you all. It's an honor too. Well, from the intro, we all know that education is the bedrock of development in any given country. However, the education sector in Nigeria, especially in Lagos State, is fast changing with new technologies and the emergence of innovative learning approaches. These emerging trends are set to transform the way students learn and the way teachers present their course content. As a result, the budgetary allocation, has increased immediately after the COVID pandemic in 2020. We discovered that during that period of COVID pandemic, education sector need to diversify and change mode of operandus in delivering course content in our various schools. Although in my own sector, we deal with adult learners, and the way we deliver course content, well, we have to use local TV stations, radio stations, in delivering this audio or video presentation. for adult learners to, to benefit, or else they will have lost out during that period, 2-year period of not having a session. But we thank the government for supporting in our presentation as to have them, through the local TV stations and radio stations in the state. That edutech is the buzzword in education circles currently, and it has been for some time. As a result, there's a lot of edutech companies that are out there that offers various services to schools and students, even private individuals as need arises. These range from simple tutoring services to more comprehensive solutions that can easily ease or even completely automate the entire school system. This automation of the school system, I want to give a typical example. In a department or a unit that monitors activities in schools, develop an app. That app was meant to, sieve out some information in the course of their field operations. At the end of the day, the app was able to, enable the organizers to plan and to plan very well and determine some aspects that need to be changed in the course of their delivering their course content in those sector. So the aspect where teachers, were involved, because they need to know that you are making use of this technology for them. And also the students were also involved. They were carried along, because definitely before you can decide to make use of an application in any environment, the students and learners or teachers need to be carried along. So many teachers and learners and parents that believe in what we want to do, were in support of the presentation in the education sector. So it's also one of the areas of focus by some government organizations like NUC and UNESCO. EduTech has been on the rise in Nigeria, with various innovative applications being developed to support education. Some of these include platforms targeted at helping students to develop critical thinking skills, to improve their writing skills, and also learn how to use technology more effectively. In terms of economic aspect, Nigeria edutech market is on the rise because the demand is also there. As a result, schools are integrating edutech into their learning environment, ranging from school information management to student attendance. The government are also created a research team that will help in setting standards for technology implementation in various schools across the country. We all know that edutech is a movement, and that movement has gained ground in the country, in Nigeria particularly. Although it is still a topic of discussion in some areas, in many schools, but they've integrated educational technology into their school curriculum, and the results are promising. The performance of our learners compared to the previous year, where you compare the non-usage of technology and with the usage of technology, the performance has changed. It has improved a lot. So the school is deem it fit that this is necessary for them to adopt edutech in their schools, and they have reported an increase in productivity and efficiency. The recent edutech trends in Nigeria include the use of digital learning tools and strategies to boost student performance and increase productivity and efficiency. These technologies will also support teacher training and development. This aspect is where the teacher that's that's not literate in computer, ICT, be retrained to have access and also to gain experience on how to make use of these applications. EduTech trends in Nigeria focus on the idea of that technology that can improve education. However, a study that was conducted at University of Lagos revealed that an average Nigerian student spend up to 3, if not more than 3 hours a day looking for information related to their studies online, which is often inaccurate or misleading. To address this challenge, some developers came up with apps and websites which will assist most of our learners, students to, seek information. And we all know that Nigeria is a developing country. We are developing, and we still try to, to meet the standard required of us. We still face some problems, and this include poor funding, poor infrastructure, inadequate classrooms, and lack of teaching aids, such as projector, computers, even laboratories. We also have a lack of quality teachers, and the environment sometimes may not be conducive in some places. Just to mention some few challenges that are being faced in the education system in Nigeria. Now, the use of EduTech in Nigeria is entirely discouraging, especially for government-owned schools. Why I'm saying this is that you cannot compare private-oriented education for government and owned schools. The way they operate differs, and the population in private school is not the same as what we have in the public schools. So I think that is where the funding aspect comes up. Let alone provide technical gadgets that could enhance teaching and learning. For example, in a class where you have up to 150 students, how do you manage such a crowd? In that aspect, you talk about classroom management. And to effectively manage a large class, it's going to be enormous. But in private sector, they are the leading pioneers of EduTech in Nigeria, especially for administrators who understand how paramount it is to yield a desirable output. I'm not saying that the public schools are not trying their best; they are doing their best. But when you on the average, on the scale, they've not met up with the public, the private sector. But they are pulling their weight. These schools that we're talking about, they are in the biggest cities in the country, such as Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. On the other hand, individuals who, in their light, are EduTech enthusiasts have established startup centers where they aim to help learners digitally acquire any desired field of study. Then, using this acquired knowledge, they can solve problems like unique teaching skills at a young age, and also close the gaps at schools. We all know that the world is a global village, and technology is the future. So we are trying to, be in that frame. For example, we have some Nigerian edutech companies like EduSoft, ClickSoft, Tech Plus Limited that have leverage technology to make education seamless and accessible to millions of Nigerians by providing schools management software solutions to various schools. A complete school management solution that drives student learning, enhances parent engagement, improves teachers' productivity, and also reduce costs and efficiency. Some other includes the lesson and others. While there are challenges facing edutech in the country, Nigeria, these startups have among them the knowledge and resources to solve them. You know, there is no way you set up a startup that will not have a teaching problem, challenges. As the challenges arises, they prefer solutions to those challenges as they come. But we have some benefits. The benefits in schools in Nigeria are as follows. We have digital literacy, which is a fundamental skill for students in the 21st century. Knowing how to use technology and the internet will be required in almost every job. There is no job description now that does not require one to be computer literate or to be versed in internet browsing. So by incorporating edutech in the classroom, teachers can help students improve their digital literacy. Educators can effectively teach better and save time by recording online files and presenting essential articles or documents, papers, timetable, academic curriculum, or report cards. I'm happy to say now here that most parents, after end of the session, they receive the reports, the performance of their wards online. They also go to the sites, put your password of your child, your students, your children. What you just see is just the result. Don't need to go travel miles to receive the result of your child. That is education technology. The use of Google tools, such as Google Drive, Google Document and Sheets, has also helped to achieve this. In addition, there are a variety of tools for teaching students how to code. This coding aspect, I remember sometimes 2 years, I think 2 years ago, my ministry through the special advisor, set up coding centers around some primary schools in the states where students in primary schools can learn how to code. That has also been escalated to secondary schools, to higher institutions of learning for them to learn how to code. So that has given a kind of a positive change. We've seen a positive change in that line, even in elementary schools. Educators can assist each student within classroom, other activities without being present, and also enhance interaction with them using a well-designed learning management skills like Google Classroom. EduTech also increased the productivity of any school with the use of automated applications. As a result, it prevents human error in accounting, registration, employment, and other divisions within education. It fosters creativity, collaboration in the classroom. Both theoretical and practical subjects are easier to comprehend when taught with pictures, videos, animation. It is widely recognized as better to teach topics with virtual arts than with traditional textbooks. Nowadays, when you teach in the classroom and you are using visual aids, it's more attractive to the students they are encouraged to, even attend classes. When you look at the old method of teaching in those days compared to the present dispensation, we discover that the classroom conditions has changed. It is through the use of education technology and using various tools, which were provided by Microsoft and Google. Students can adequately utilize the internet and go online to make presentations and complete tests or assignments, as the case may be. A lot of effort has also been, done to improve education technology in Nigeria. I will end my session by, quoting Nelson Mandela that says, "Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world." That's the quote from Mr. Nelson Mandela. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's a beautiful way of ending your speech, Mr. ABIODUN. I couldn't agree more. And there is so much to unpack from what you said. I mean, starting from the challenges that you're facing and even from the perspective of considering, does it even make sense to talk about EMIS in a Nigerian context in the public schools, in edutech, if you have so many other infrastructure and priorities to address before having an edutech solution into mind. But very interesting start of conversation. Thank you very much for this. Very much food for thought. I would like to continue our panel with Mr. Sebulon, and hopefully we'll have some time in the end of our session to have a little bit of discussion. But let's go ahead, and I would like to introduce Mr. Sebulon David, Glowdom's CEO. Sebulon holds a degree in computer science from the University of Namibia and has been recognized as a USA Mandela Washington Fellow for Young African Leaders, as well as an ambassador for UNESCO and various other initiatives, such as SAP Africa Code Week and the African Asian Partnership Code MAU. Sebulon, the floor is yours, and we look forward to listen what you have to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lais. I have a short presentation just to guide my talk. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Right, my name has already been said, and thank you so much for reading my bio, Lais, and good evening, everyone. I stand as the CEO and the founder of the company Glowdom, and we've very much been involved for the past 10 years in the education space, pretty much in Namibia, and we have been working closely with EDUX Finland in Finland to explore the education landscape in the past 4 years. And we work with various institutions, including universities, and also secondary and primary education in Namibia. From our experience, I would say some experience, some challenges, and also some of the things that we have encountered, challenges that we've encountered in our way, and possible recommendations moving forward. Now, our company is very much focused on data, and when we started off, we thought first that we're just going to get in there. EduTech is the way to go. That's where we are heading, and the world is heading. And we've made our assumption at the beginning, and we wanted really to explore and learn in the field and make it more practical. And as we're involved in the process of revolutionizing education and transforming education digitally, we quickly learned that there was a lot of infrastructural challenges in the country. And similar to the previous speaker, there is a huge difference between the private sector and the public schools in the country. And the other thing also that is there is that there's so much funding in the past years that has been put into the higher education compared to the early childhood development. So one can already tell that in the early childhood development in the country, there is very minimal integration of technology. And in most cases, you would really find someone would go to the university without touching a computer. Especially if they've gone through the route of public education. However, on the other side, with the private institutions, they integrate very much technology at the very early stage. And you'd find coding programs, for example, or technology-related programs, or robotics, for example, in these private schools. And I'm sure it's cutting across. This is not only for a context of Namibia, but I'm sure, having visited other countries as well, especially in the Southern African region, we see the same kind of landscape or trait. So the environment is that there's a lot of infrastructure challenges, and this affects people at the higher education, because then by the time they reach the higher education, the damage has already been done. And also, many teachers, new graduates that are coming from universities, no matter how they have been exposed to technologies, when they come into the school settings, they found a lot of traditional ways of doing things. And in new initiatives are not so much welcomed in especially schools in rural areas and remote areas. And so on. And this is because people have gotten used to a certain way of doing things. And it has then become a challenge to explore new opportunities and so on. However, in the, our experience with COVID has kind of disrupted that culture. And we have recently started, after COVID, we have seen conversations around education technology, digitalization, digital transformation, ICT integrations, being highly promoted from the policy side. Namibia is very, very good with policy. In terms of policies, we are really good. Where we really find challenges is the implementation side of these policies. So there is policies that supports ICT integration in the country. And as I've mentioned earlier, there are these challenges around infrastructures, around the culture, the habits, the behaviors, and more especially the hierarchical structure that of reporting and the protocols that are within the education sector. We found that those are some of the issues that are hindering the progress. But on the other side as well is that you'd find schools that are well resourced. They have pretty much everything. They have the internet, they have the best infrastructures in the school, computers and so on. And you'd find that sometimes these devices are locked up somewhere in the storeroom. Either the teachers are not allowed, for example, to use them, or the learners, for example, or both the teachers and the learners, for example, are not able to use these infrastructures. And that also then, comes to the point of, the teachers not having the right skills to integrate ICT, although it's highly promoted and everyone sees it as a solution. It appears to be then a challenge that many educators do not have digital skills to really be able to integrate ICT in their workspace. And on the other side, also you'd find, teachers that are able to work at the personal level. They are able to do, let's say, for example, their lesson plans. using a computer. But then when it comes to the whole school using technology as a culture, it has been one of the greatest challenges that we have experienced in the education sectors as we're working with schools. And I'll tell you as we go how we are now addressing those issues across the whole education sector, working with different regions and so on. The third challenge that we have experienced is really looking at in the past, there's been a lot of amazing projects in the country. But we have learned that there was no continuation plans. Every time there's a new technology comes, there's no a continuation or connection to the previous ones that were implemented. And that has led to many infrastructures in the country either being abandoned, for example, or for example, the ministry looking at, for example, purchasing new equipments while they have infrastructures, for example, that are not being utilized. On the other side, also, there's been, when it comes to software systems, there's been this concept of like sort of importing softwares, because as a country we wish really to be at the stage where Nigeria is. That from the previous presenter, there's so many edutech companies and solutions that are being developed in the country. As for Namibia, we in the past years we have not really been having professional developers who are able to tailor-make these solutions. So you'd find that solutions would be imported from other countries, for example, and the locals are not able to tailor-make these solutions or create plugins or add-on that will then cater for as the curriculum changes, for example, to add those components that addresses issues. So systems will get obsolete, for example, and then at the end of the day, it will not be then compatible with the new curriculum, for example, that is in place. Now, to address some of these challenges is that one of the initiatives that we have started doing is that on the side of the infrastructures, we realized that we needed to work both on the hardware and also on the software side, because then if we are only concentrating on the software side, people don't have the devices. So even if you have the best solution to offer, or a solution that is user-friendly, emerging technology, for example, that can take care of the data, for example, and allowing managers and administrators to make a decision, a data-driven decision, without the devices, both for the educators and the learners, and we're not able to get to meet our goals. So we created initiatives where we have buses that are going to schools, for example, and fixing these infrastructures that are still in schools. And this is some of the infrastructures that we have been working on, and some of these devices were locked. For some reasons, they had the ministry was not able to unlock these devices, and then we have created a solution that is now addressing these challenges of infrastructures being locked across all the regions. And this is really one aspect that schools that are having infrastructures but are not able to use them because either the service provider is out of the country, or they are it's done intentionally that they will have to go back to the service provider, for example, and pay a lot of money. And these are it's the experience of the ministry, having worked with some of the service providers out of the country. So now, with the capacity building and collaborating with universities, we are able to then provide, for example, internship opportunities to the universities students, where they get work integrated learning to then fix infrastructures. At the same time, we are solving the infrastructure problems in the schools, and this is both on the IT side and also on the information systems side. When we work with various schools, both schools and vocational training centers and universities and so on, we realize that the visions of most of the schools, and this is something promoted at a very high level from the ministry, is that the intention is really to have integrations of ICT or digital tools in the curriculum. However, the schools appeared to not have a way to integrate technology into the classroom. And this is caused due to many different challenges, but one is that the school operates on the hierarchical model, where you have the HODs, for example, that needs to receive the lesson plans, and then they have to pass it on to the principal and so on. They appear to be a lot of administrative work in the schools, because most of the work is done manual, and that takes up a lot of time for the teachers to pay attention to anything out there. And also the other thing is the infrastructures that are not there. But then what we then realize is that we needed to create an operating system for schools where they have an easy way of tracking their tasks, what they need to do, and also having instant communication chats, for example, using Google Chat, for example, in a school system, and these Google Chats are connected, for example, to the Trello boards, for example, and these tools allows the syncing of information and the task. Once someone has moved, for example, a task on the Trello board, it notifies the person, everybody else that is in the chat, in the instant chat, for example. And the use of Google, for example, shared drives in the schools connected to the platform, where both the principals, the educators are utilizing, appear to work quite very well, and that reduced a lot of pressure on the teachers to start looking at data management tools. And when we piloted this project with various schools in the past 2 years, is that we've seen good improvement in these schools when it comes to performance, and also the use of technology in the school setting. Many educators started seeing the benefits of using technology, since now they have an operating system that they are utilizing in the school setting. But what we've also then started doing is that we elevated the conversations at the regional levels, working directly with the regional governments to incorporate this operating system that has to do with ICT integrations. And a good example that we've also been doing is that we started working with the Education Development Institute of the country, looking at how we can monitor and evaluate teachers' training, because there has not really been a system that keeps tracks of what teachers, the skills that have been trained on, and that creates a system or situation where a teacher would go to a training, and they only get to find out that they've already done it, that training before, because people just say there is an ICT training, for example. But then, as we all know, the ICT is quite broad, and there hasn't been really these specific tools that have been explored to say this is how you integrate technology into the classroom, and how learners can benefit from that process. On the other hand, in addition to renovating, repairing the existing infrastructures, we also started looking at a concept of creating a customized computer and setting up new labs in the country to increase the infrastructures that would then increase the access to technology for most learners, and collaborating with development agencies, for example, and the ministries to develop more labs in the country. So this is something that we have started recently, setting up computer labs, and then at the same time empowering the teachers with these digital skills to then be able to integrate ICT in the classroom. What we are now busy with is that we are setting up regional ICT summits in the country and collaborating with regional governments. We are currently expecting to host a regional ICT summit that is just in a week time. And we expect to bring schools, companies, and organizations to really put these conversations around education technology on the table, and really having teachers demonstrating how they integrate ICT into their classroom. We realize that there is a need to have role models that will then promote the use of technology, and there's nobody else who knows the classroom environment than the teachers themselves. So this is what we are currently busy with, and it's a concept that is working. We incorporate the operating system to allow both the managers, the teachers, and the stakeholders to explore various avenues, and we hope to create more solutions with these collaborative efforts. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to present, and looking forward to questions.
Thank you so much, Sebulon, for this comprehensive presentation. Very interesting, and I can see that from both contributions of both speakers, they come direct from experience. They come directly from what you've seen on the field, facing the challenges, trying to overcome them, and trying to consider ways forward. I would like to open the floor for the audience. If there is any kind of comments or questions that someone would like to address to the speakers, you can also text in the chat, and I will try to read them while we are having the final moment of our panel session here for questions and answers. But giving some time for the participants, if they want to ask some questions, to think about it. I would like to start with one question to the speakers. Please open up your mic, either Mr. Sebulon or ABIODUN, to address this question. But something that it's kind of a constant or a very common factor in between Namibia and Nigeria and many other in developing countries. Ola Wale, I will give you the floor just in a moment. Let me just finish this question, and the speakers will answer, and then you come first. But there is, it seems that there is a vicious cycle in terms of the infrastructure. There are many countries facing the reality that it lacks internet, lacks electricity. The teachers are not well trained. There is no hardware as a starting point to even implement or think of implementing edutech solutions in a comprehensive education management information system. However, at the same time, there is a need to collect data exactly to know how the situation is in all the areas of the country or the region or the city, to understand what are the problems and be able to address and give priorities to the most urgent or pressing ones. So how are you dealing with this issue of the need of data to be able to make decisions, but the lack of infrastructure to get this data? What comes first? How do you solve this, or how are you trying to solve this issue?
Right, I can go first, Lice. Yes, very good question. What in our in our pursuit of solving these challenges that we have on the ground, the realities on the ground, is that for our side we realize that teachers have mobile phones, and we decided to start there. And there is this increasing use of mobile technology, both among youth, teachers, and parents, and so on. If someone does not have a smartphone, they are, they are hoping that they would get one because of the different features and functionalities and the information flow. So that's an opportunity that we've seen. And with this operating system that we are using, we encourage teachers to have these specific applications, for example, in their mobile phones, and start using their personal mobile phones to make their own work easier. So that is one strategy that we have started using, to say that, hey, you might not have infrastructures, state-of-the-art infrastructure in the school, but with your cell phone, you can still do much with it. And also the other thing is that we have realized that we wouldn't do much if we don't really engage the decision makers, the leaders who are really dealing with these budgets. And that's why we came up with regional support initiatives to support regional councils. These are different political areas in the country, and working directly with the regional governments to support the senior education officers with the integrations of ICT and seeing the need of it. And this summit that I have I've explained in my presentation earlier is that we have actually integrated data management tools in the system itself, to then allow the region to be able to collect specific data directly for that purpose, so that then they are able to make decisions. Now, Namibia is having an EMIS system that is used by schools to collect the data, but the data that is collected is not enough to drive most of the decisions for the leaders. It's more looking at how many learners, for example, have registered that year, how many have dropped out, for example, and so on. But when it comes to, let's say, picking up the data in terms of the infrastructures, how many computers, for example, or equipments were bought in the last 10 years that maybe by now they are obsolete, for example, that data is not nowhere. Or, for example, what kind of systems are the schools having, for example, things like that. So, and also the skills, auditing of skills for the teachers and so on. So this is how we are trying to solve these issues, by working with the regional governments, integrating easy to use, friendly to use systems that the top are able to experiment. And once they have experimented with those tools, they are then able to give recommendation for the schools as they get to see the benefit. Thanks again for the question.
Yeah, thank you for that question. In Nigeria, Lagos particularly, the government have already set up in every education sector EMIS unit, and that EMIS unit they are empowered, to gather information. We all know that we are in the system of in a situation where most of our students, learners, are making use of Android phones, and with that, I'm in support of Mr. Sebulon. The idea of having Android, has taken almost 50% of your challenges away. What is the next thing is just to develop an app where learners and individuals can download the application that we used to gather information, as the case may be. But as I've said, in the education sector here, it has been mandated from the federal government down to the state government that a unit must be created in education sector that needs to cover information aspect, and they collaborate with Bureau of Statistics across the states. So whatever data that needs to be done or that needs to be collected will, be routed to the Bureau of Statistics in the country. So they serve as the general body that collates any data from states or from local government. That is how we've been able to, take care of that aspect. In terms of infrastructure, well, we are moving. We are moving. It's just that, for example, Lagos State, we don't call Lagos State some areas rural areas now. Most virtually 90% of the area in Lagos State is now an urban center. Well, we still have some teaching challenges there in terms of infrastructure. Some are riverine area. So to go across the riverine area in terms of connectivity, availability of network, that is where the challenge comes in. But the moment you are outside the environment, once you input your information, once you get to the where you have a network, whatever input your data you have inputted will be synchronized and it will come up. I think that is where the app that was developed in monitoring. You can do it offline. Once you are online, the geofencing capturing will have been taking place so that it will capture whatever information that is meant for that location. And I think that has gone a long way in developing our data gathering. Well, that is how far ours has been. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for both considerations. They are very informative, and yes, taking advantage from the resources that are already available is definitely a way forward, and mobile phones are a very valuable resource to take advantage from. Absolutely. Please, Mr. Olawale, I'm sorry if I am pronouncing your name wrong. Go ahead and unmute yourself and make the questions. If I'm correctly, you wanted to ask a question.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to ask a question. There are some teachers that are not ready. If you try to introduce a new innovative way of doing something to make the work to be productive, there are some teachers that are not ready to change. They don't just like the ideology. They prefer to stick with the old ways. What do you think we can do about those teachers? What kind of suggestions can you prefer? What kind of solutions? Thank you. Did you hear my question?
Yeah. Well, for such, if Lisa permits me, I can respond. Lisa.
Please go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Lais. Yeah, for teachers that find it difficult to accept new technology or new way of doing things now, they need to be encouraged. They need to be motivated and see reasons why there is need for them to, join in. If we want to go by development, one needs to, put it through to such an individual in a way that he or she will appreciate the essence of using applied way of teaching or presenting course content to his or her learners. once that is done, and the teacher still find it difficult to, to accept, I think that person might find it difficult to, to move on in his educational line, because as time goes on, we're going to discover that the use of technology it has come to play, and I don't think in the next 20 years is going to go off. Is improving, is developing, is evolving. We are talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking about so many robotic activities going on. All these developmental programs are coming up, and if any teacher is not tagging along, that person will be left behind. And in a group of teachers, if that such person is not willing to tag along, that person will be left behind. But as much as you want to deliver your course content, such an individual should be motivated and encouraged. If possible, send in for a training course that will, enable her to, to accept the new changes that has come to play. Thank you.
Yes. With your permission, Lice, I would like to contribute on the question asked.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So I believe, and from our experience, what we have learned is that we have faced that a lot in the field, and for us, we realized that we needed to have both the bottom-up approach and the top-down approach. So it goes both sides, in the sense that there are some teachers who are willing to use the technology, but then they will face a bottleneck in their school environment, for example, with their immediate supervisors. But on the other side, there is exactly what you just described, that there are those that are not supporting the idea, or due to different reasons. It could be fear of technology or fear of unknown, for example. They don't know what to expect, or they feel that they are too old, for example, to use technology and so on. And they always then get they tend to have a low self-esteem when it comes to the use of technology. So to cap that, when we created this initiative of working directly with regional governments and providing technical support to the regional government, is that we came up with an idea, a concept of creating work group that supports technology in the school. So each school that we are working with, they create a working group. They call it the ICT tribe. In the school setting, this will be a small group of individuals that are given permission and support and blessing by the principal at the school level, so that then they are able to explore various technologies on behalf of the whole school, and then be able to recommend and even support the slow learners, for example. And that's where I support the motivation to say that, with this support structure that is at the school level, this would be, it tend to be very productive, because these are people that are passionate about these tools, and mostly these are young ones in the school, for example, or people who are old, but they've been exposed to these different tools. And more especially the ICT teachers tend to be very supportive at the school level. And we've seen that with having this kind of small work group of change agents to support ICT integration, the leadership tend to welcome that highly at the school level. But we have also decided to do the same thing for the clusters level, where you have a lot of schools, and then also at the regional level. And these work groups, they are given the endorsement and support by the director of the regions. Because the reason why we then went as far as creating those kind of informal structure work groups on ICT is to create a network of people with interest of ICT. Like, for example, this summit that we are about to host is that there are various activities that takes place that are driven by these specific individuals in the schools, and that is how they keep sharing best practices in different schools and helping building a digital ecosystem for each region.
Thank you very much. Yes, this was all very informative. Thank you very much, Mr. Sebulon and Mr. ABIODUN. I'm afraid our panel session should be over soon, but we have another question from Robson. Yes, I will give you the floor, but this will be our last question, and then we go for the last remarks from the speakers. Yes, Robson, go ahead and ask our final question from our panel session. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm a computer science and mathematics teacher. I just want to thank Mr. Sebulon and Mr. ABIODUN for their amazing presentation on this issue of technology in the 21st century schools. It's something that we also as teachers at the ground level are concerned most of the time. And I want to comment on the issues they addressed and the ones that I have talked about. So are really things that are on the ground and things that we are experiencing, especially in the Namibian context. What Sebulon just said is really what is happening on the ground, especially on some of the things that I also wanted to add, like on a curriculum change. We have a government curriculum which actually states that teachers have to teach A, B, C, D, for instance, for computer science. And you can maybe say that whatever is in this curriculum, maybe 90% is theory, and maybe learners are only allowed to know 10% practical. And then you see the gap now between basic education and high education when the learners now proceed to high education level, like to tertiary education. The skills gap is very wide. And that is maybe now the issue of government support, because if you look at the private and public schools, the implementation of ICTs like in Namibia is not the same at all. Private schools seems to have things sorted out. They have somehow, some way, effectively implemented technology into their classrooms and their schools. But government support on the public sector side is very slow. As Sebulon also stated that policy formulation is there, but implementation also is very slow. And then we have also that issue of equity and access, where you can have schools in urban areas having ICT 70-80%, but then some other schools in rural regions don't have computer science, for instance. Computer science wasn't even supposed to be a selective subject in the 21st century. It's supposed to be one of those subjects like mathematics, but infrastructure support is not there. Proper education and teacher training and development is not there on a public sector side, and you can still see that progress into having all these type of technologies in the classroom is very slow. So you have actually stated before, the issue of data collection really need to be addressed. What is happening on the ground? What do teachers need really to effectively implement technology into the classroom? Data speaks volume. If these learners need 21st century skills, then there need to be some sort of data collection that states what sort of technologies do teachers need, what sort of technologies do these learners need to learn, especially now technology changes a lot. It's same with the software development, new frameworks and new programming languages coming up. And if you look at now how we change the syllabus to actually acquaint ourselves with the changing trends in technology, is also very slow. And there is a very, very slow progress in this. And there's a lot of things now that are outdated. And these issues, even if you address them at the school level, they won't, because now we need green lights from the top level. And you can see that most of the time people at the top level, they don't understand what is happening on the ground level. So we have this kind of bureaucratic or centralized governance of schools that actually disable progress from happening on the ground level, because so many people at the top level are less attached to what is happening. So they can do monitoring once a year to your school, get a small report, go back to their offices. And I think when Mr. Sebulon was talking about this initiative that they are actually carrying out now, and they want to kind of spread some sort of awareness in the whole education sector to have our government understand the importance of ICT integration in our schools, and how important it is for learners to learn now that latest 21st century skills is something that we really need at the moment. I just want to thank you guys a lot for having this panel with us. And from the Sebulon side, I'm looking forward again to working with him and address these challenges together and see what support we can bring in as teachers as well from our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Robson, very much for your intervention and comments and questions. Please, Mr. Sebulon or Mr. ABIODUN, go ahead and make your comments regarding Robson's question.
Thank you, Lice. I actually, in terms of involvement of government in making policies, at the same time implementing those policies, I think it's everywhere. When you look at people at the top, at their own time, in the course of passing through the educational system, were they actually involved in the education technology? They were not involved. They are not equipped, so they find it difficult. They are reluctant to even implement the policies, because I don't know, maybe individual differences. But I think that mindset has changed in Nigeria. The mindset has changed. The younger ones are spoken, and the government are keying into making changes that will turn around the mindset of our youth. If I'll use myself as an example. When I started my schooling, I was basically planning to be a farmer. I went to School of Agriculture, but along the line, I think there about 1997, thereabout, I just discovered that I wrote an application. The man there at the top said, we need a computer, somebody. I just look at him. Computer. I'm talking about agricultural something. At that moment, I just changed my mind. I said, okay, let me go for computer courses. And since then, I've not changed my thinking. So it boils down to individual differences. But if our mindset of people at the top, if they are not, I don't know, we can't force them, but at the same time, we need to create awareness that it is necessary for us to, move with the trend of things, move along with what is happening in the other in the world, so as to make teaching, learning process, easy. Teaching and learning process easy for us. Basically, I'm very sure as time goes on, everybody will key into the idea of this ICT technology-based education. As I've said, is a mindset. Once we can change the mindset of those individuals, everybody will key into it. Thank you.
Yes, just my remarks is really like just to add on what Robinson mentioned, is that around issues of culture and mindset, and we have realized that the only way that we can achieve what we need to achieve as a country is when both the government, the industry, and the academias are working together. And when we bring the three parties together, considering also that there is the various stakeholders, the parents and the learners, is only the way to create the solutions that really works. And one thing that we also highlight to the educators is that if a technology is making life difficult for them, then they shouldn't use it. That they should. They are good technologies and they are bad technologies. And they should be looking out for user-friendly emerging technologies that can make things easier, better. We make analogies to say, back in the days, people used to walk. They will walk from the northern part of Namibia or from the southern part of Namibia, for example. And it used to take many months and weeks and so on. But nowadays, a person is able to get in the car and they get to their destination as quickly as possible. And that's the reason why we use these analogies is for them to really see technology as a tool that can help them, not to replace them, but help them make things easier and better, and remove the stress that they might be having. What we have seen is that when they understand the value that they get from the tools, they would be more than happy to use it. And many people that are rejecting technology is in most cases is maybe either because of ignorance, or they did not see, or they do not understand why they have to use it. And if they get the why, it really makes things easier for them to adapt or incorporate ICT in what they do. And they appreciate data so much when things are done much quicker and faster, especially the integrations of AI and interactive simulations, and when they are able to do their lesson plans and workflows. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for both contributions. I am learning so much because I am sure you were talking directly from experience, and this resonates also directly to my experience, and I am sure to the experiences of the other participants as well, in terms of technology usefulness and how easier it's making users' life easier or not, relevance, and mindset, attitude in terms of using it or not. So this is so crucial, and it seems to be also not considered in many implementation projects that come from maybe international collaboration or top-down policy implementation. So very relevant, all of the contributions. I would like to finish our panel session, unfortunately. Please, Mr. ABIODUN, we would like to hear your final words, and then Mr. Sebulon. Thank you very much. From my behalf, I have learned a lot from this panel session, and I'm very thankful for your time. Mr. ABIODUN, please, can you give us your final remarks?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you for giving me this privilege to be one of the presenter. I appreciate very much. I appreciate very much. Definitely, we know that the framework for transformation in educational technology is very, very important. Once we understand the framework of transformation and when we understand what digital transformation stands for in education, we are going to benefit. Once we can incorporate digitalization as part of our organization strategy, we are going to improve. Once we, tailor our digital transformation process for specific needs, it's going to improve. When we create a better and agile system that can meet the test of time and adopt that system, we are going to improve. And also, when we reframe or retain a focus on students and teachers as well, it's going to be a beneficial thing to us. All this put together, if all these things I've just mentioned are, placed side by side, I'm very sure educational technology will be a better thing in any given environment where they have a focus and a target to meet. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much once again for the opportunity and for giving me this chance to talk and present and give my perspective around the topic that we just discussed. My final remarks is basically just collaborations, and I look forward from these conversations to see how we can learn from each other and foster, share best practices between Namibia and Nigeria. You're quite ahead in terms of some of the challenges, and that also comes with your populations. We are a very small population, but we have so many problems. So I feel that with what you have done that side and what we are doing this side, we can find synergies and ways of collaborating. I've also shared the link for the summit. Hopefully in the future, we could also have some of the people, for example, even on the call, for example, to become speakers or to share how you are applying ICT integration in your institutions and how the government, the industries and the innovators and educators are incorporating ICT. So really looking forward to increasing the network and collaborating further. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the speakers. Thank you very much for the participants. Have a great weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.